This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
For this afternoon, the sunset safari. We've just came down to the dam to see if there's any activity. I was hoping for some swimming elephants, but instead we have a hippo. Still a large grey mammal that's enjoying the water. Keeps popping its head up and then going under. I'm not too sure of my plans today. I think it's to bumble. So please join me everyone in bumbling, because it's that time of day for your live safari through the African bush.
This program features live.
One of my favourite things to spot, of course, around the dam are dragonflies. The longer you sit here, the longer you can see them busybodying about, going about with their day, mating, feeding, and the short life cycle that they have. So I've already said good afternoon, but it's an absolute pleasure to have you on board. My name is Lauren, and I do have Simon on camera, and it's rather bright, so I think I'm going to stick with closing my eyes for now as we admire this dam. It's very hot. It's actually sticky, muggy today. Humid, 31 degrees Celsius, 88 degrees Fahrenheit. And of course, it's your live safari. Nothing is edited. It's all happening as you see it, which means you must talk to us. We're interactive, so use the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. You can use @FC on the YouTube chat, or if you're under the age of 18, you can talk to us or send in your questions using email. The email address is kiddsquestions@wildearth.tv. And there's a new option. Head over to the website and you can go to the live safari page and submit your questions there. We had such a wonderful morning with Nzutini. Lovely, beautiful, gorgeous leopardess, not territorial, still very young. And for... Oh, okay. I'm feeling a little bit territorial here. Someone is showing off. Or playing. Could be one or the other. Normally a big yawn like that and a hippo is a territorial display from a male, saying, "This is my water body, go away." So I'm not sure what I'm going to do today. I would like to go in search of more spots, but I can't decide whether to go south or north or both. Tingana is of course somewhere around Simbambili Dam, but we lost him this morning, and I imagine he will pop out at some point, but he's definitely thick in that drainage line for now. You hear the constant call of the woodlands kingfisher. Now, there's only ever one male hippo in this dam. Only one, and I think it's a young boy. If it's still dewy, I'm not sure if it is still dewy or if it's a different one. They do move. It's only one lone male. He sees us, though. And we see you. We're admiring you. And they're truly amphibious ungulates. They need the water. Hippos would not be able to survive without a water body. Maybe for short term, yes, but long term, no. Even the mothers give birth in the water. And the Latin name itself is Hippopotamus amphibius. So right there it tells you in the word amphibious that it requires water for its life cycle. Amphi means two. Bios means life. So it means a two-phase life cycle when you're using it to describe amphibians. Now, a hippo's not an amphibian, it's a mammal, it's an ungulate, but still, it requires the water. It requires a terrestrial land to forage, and it also requires a body of water for so many other reasons. To keep cool, save energy, for territorial behavior. Impaw, yes, they do. They do have good eyesight. They have great senses. They have a great sense of smell, really keen hearing. Although they've got very, very small ears, they can actually fold their ears down if they wish to not sort of get water in them. And they do have very good eyesight. They will know that we are here long before we arrive. They're very aware of their surroundings.
Any route in the report on the car?
Sorry, that's my game drive radio once again. But the nostrils, the ears and the eyes are all on one plane. They're all positioned really, really high up on the skull, and that's so that the individual can keep its body submerged, but just keep its ears or its eyes out, like exactly what it's doing right now. Then the nostrils, so it can breathe, see and hear, without bringing its body too far out the water. You see how he just folded his ears over there? The young, the calves also suckle in the water when they're born. In the very shallow waters, not deep water, but the mothers do suckle their young inside the water. And they're actually able to close their nostrils and their ears to prevent water getting in as a youngster. They're able to just close those nostrils and keep suckling. The woodland kingfishers never give up. All day long, goes late into the night, starts early in the morning, all summer long. There's no end to the calling. And I think it's time for us to bumble. I haven't quite decided where I wish to go, but I think I am going to reverse. Rosalind, you're asking how far can hippos swim? I think that was the question. I will wait until Elton repeats it as I try to reverse. They don't swim, Rosalind. Hippos are not swimmers. They're very large, heavy-bodied, not so elegant, not so agile organisms. They require the water, but they don't swim. They can move their little legs, but I'm not entirely sure that you would call that swimming. They're actually positioned, just bouncing on their feet in the water body. So most water bodies here are really, really not deep. They're not deep at all. And most of the hippos are standing or just bouncing, or they can use buoyancy in order to help themselves sink. They can hold their breath anywhere between 5 to 6 minutes. So by releasing all the air from their lungs, through exhalation, they will sink to the bottom of the dam. But they're not swimming. So, in answer to your question, not far at all. So we're going to head to the next water body. I'd really like to see some elephants. And for now, we're going to send you across to Andrew to say good afternoon.
Good afternoon everybody. Welcome to Juma Private Game Reserve. Here where we're sitting under sun heat. My name's Andrew. On camera I have David this afternoon. So we're actually checking the northern side of the camp. And then it's been a sound of probably an elephant, moaning about in this area from far distances. And the reason I'm saying we're under the sun is that it's very open. And the temperature of today, 31 degrees 81 Fahrenheit. This is where we stand right here. Where I believe it can change during the course when the sun go down probably. As you can see the cloud. It's all building up, but far distance on the far west, we're looking at the western direction right now. All the bushes, shiny here. Looking at this whipping wattle, or African Platyphorema africana, species of trees that already see beautiful leaves, pods showing very much shiny because of the rain, the last rain we have. So yeah, we're gonna check a few of the roads. Hoping to find lines this afternoon because this morning I'm not sure where they're gone. So we checked the tracks and there were nothing on the roads, nothing crossed either one of the roads. So maybe when it's cool off, we can able to find out what happened to them. Remember, we're coming to you live from this location, and for you to communicate with us, you can go register on WildEarth. You head over to Live Safari. From there, submit your question, comment. We'll be taking them from there. I'm going to be sending you over across to Phinda.
Good afternoon to all our viewers and welcome to andBeyond Ngala, where we are looking at an elephant making quite a mess with the mud. It is a very, very hot day here today. And as you can see, that elephant is covering her entire body with mud or muddy water. You can see the hard to reach places right between the legs on the belly. And quite substantially, look at the mud and the water dripping off. I'm Yapi, and behind the camera we've got PK. And we are currently driving a road quite close to the Timbavati riverbed. And we are actually looking to see if we might find any further signs or any fresh signs of lions. There were a male lion in this area this morning, and we are hoping that we might have some luck with him today. But, like these elephants, near the riverbed this time of the year is always a good place to be. You can see, look at them all, you can see the light reflecting off their backs. They're all covered with moisture at this point. Now, why would that one elephant be covering herself in such a lot of water, and this one looks like it hardly had any? But if you look carefully, she's actually also throwing some mud and water on the belly. It's just much less animated than the other one. And the ears flapping vigorously of the one at the back. And because of this heat and the fact that they're out in the open, these elephants must be very, very, very hot at this point. Now that cool mud and the cool water, and it's covering the body, and it runs in between the creases. It cools her down. Faith, do elephants hibernate? No, they don't. I have not heard of any elephants hibernating. In this particular area, there's not enough mammals that do. Well, if any, I don't know of any that hibernates in this area. They change their movements seasonally. They might move into different areas with more food. And since it's such a large animal, the areas that they cover is very, very large. Female elephants, like these ones with their young ones, they're not territorial, so they have what we refer to as a home range, a large area that they might move between different spots with good food and water and mud, like this area. It's also good grass. I've noticed at this time of the year the elephants tend to eat a little bit more grass than other plant material, but you can see they still do eat both leaves of trees as well as grass, and then also some shrubs and smaller things that they dig out of the ground on occasions. So while these elephants are busy cooling down, we're going to send you over to Phinda for the introduction.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve, where this afternoon we've come in search of those 5 cheetah out into the open areas where they were last seen this morning, and we found a piglet, or a couple of piglets, should I say rather, 3 of them, and their mum, the sow, out in the open, busy grazing. Amazing to see they were all down on their knees just now, like mum's doing at the moment, busy plucking up grass and the likes, feeding on that, but super cute. My name is Matt, and behind the camera we've got Owen. And I think one of my favorite times of year in summer, when all the animals are having their babies, the warthog and their piglets, the wildebeest and their lambs, the impala and their lambs, and the wildebeest and their calves. But super cute to see so many piglets together. They scurry off in the background now. We've got a couple of impala off to our right hand side as well. Also busy grazing, but very alert. It's quite windy this afternoon. It has been a very hot afternoon. So grazing, and their heads are up. This wind obviously just takes away from their hearing on otherwise calm days. So have to be alert, especially when there are 5 cheetah in the area. We went past where they were, and we found the remains of a young male impala. So I wouldn't be surprised if sometime during the course of the day, with a bit of cloud cover, if the 5 of them manage to catch that. So if we are lucky enough to find them, I'm sure the 5 of them will have little pot bellies and they'll be looking quite fat and lazy. We've driven extensively searching for them, but they've probably just stared at us as we've driven past, hiding in the shade because it is still really hot. There's no need for them to be out in the open at the moment. And being so small, they are also really good at camouflaging themselves and winning the hide and seek championship of 2021. So we will keep searching for them. There were a couple of wildebeest and zebra here as well who are looking awfully relaxed, not fixed in an area or alarming at all. These impala are the same. You can see they've all got their heads down. If those cheetah were around, I'm pretty sure they'd be staring at them, sounding the alarm, but no such luck just yet this afternoon. Like I said, a really, really hot afternoon, so a lot of the predators will be hiding. JP, you're asking what the top food of prey is in our area. At this time of year, it's a lot of the youngsters, or the babies, so be it wildebeest lambs, impala lambs, beg your pardon, wildebeest calves and piglets. But we've got an incredible amount of Ngala on this reserve. They absolutely love the thicker vegetation. In fact, I think the last census there were about 5,500 of them on the 30,000 hectares of Phinda. So that's a firm favorite of a lot of the animals. Cheetah and lion mostly. Leopard we found to also hunt Ngala, but impala for them. And yeah, I'd say that every so often you might find the pride of lions to take down something as big as a giraffe. I know a couple of the guides have been lucky enough to witness coalitions of male cheetah bringing down young giraffe as well, which must be quite the spectacle. But yeah, I'd say a fair amount of the plains game, and not obviously not fussy. Whatever presents itself is something that they'd be happy to take down. But we're gonna carry on searching here, myself and Owen, and we're gonna head off to Andrew.
Thank you very much. Now, so from impalas to an water mammal, which is a hippo. Looks like a female hippo here. What we've seen looks like it's also with a baby. We know impala move in such a group with the high rim can be numbered up to 30, where hippo also can form a group of number up to probably 7, 15 if possible in one group. But now here we have one female with a looks like a calf she's got there. So she's in a very deep way. She'll probably every now and then support the baby's neck, able to breathe up, raise his head, take a breath, and then go down. So you're asking hippo and crocodile are predators of one another. Yeah, so wherever it's crocodile nearby and that crocodile has to stay away far from the hippo, they don't get along. Well, crocodile, they're actually carnivores, they eat meat. So what we see now, so what we're seeing with the lions and the impalas, that relationship is not working when they're near around together. Same thing with, but they can still share some waterhole where one partner has to be different species has to be far apart or far end where the crocodile was sort of far in end. That's not a problem. But they don't cooperate. So I'm going to carry on check now to see if we pick up anything to put on the shore. In the meantime, I'm going to be sending you across to Lauren with the Dragonfly.
Good luck, Andrew, with your lions. I have got my very own predator here, an expert predator. 95% success rate. An aerial predator, of course, snatches his prey from the sky and has landed right next. Oh, no, I think it'll come back. Yes. For some reason, they always do this. Oh, now he's facing us. Look at that. Look at those eyes. Wow, those compound eyes. It's given us a perfect view of them. They join in the middle. Do you see that? Giving this insect 360-degree vision. Wow. Sometimes a page just sits still. And for some reason they fly and they always come back to the same perch that they were on just moments ago. Now, compound eyes are different from single eyes. They're made up of lots and lots of little lenses. They're a ball of sort of highly sensitive little pixels. And dragonfly eyes are built from around 30,000 of these pixel-like units, you want to call them. And they can see all kinds of light on that spectrum, including UV light. So imagine what they're processing right now. Imagine the dragonfly and I are both looking at the same thing, but our brains are processing and perceiving the thing entirely different, the landscape around us right now. We're in the same area. This dragonfly's own world is completely different from my own world. We are not understanding the environment in the same way. Our senses are different. Our perceptions are different. But dragonflies also have a brain. They're not brainless. They're not without some form of intelligence. Their brain is actually capable of focusing over time on sort of one specific section of the enormous quantity of visual impressions that are being received. So there's lots of little lenses there. They can see 360 degrees. That must be really overwhelming. It can see Simon, it can see me, it can see the vehicle, it can see the road, it can see the pan, it can see twin dams behind us, it can see the sky and the ground. Wow, we've got binocular vision. We can't even begin to understand what it feels like to have 360-degree vision and our brain process all of that information at the one time. Whereas dragonflies, their brains can actually focus on one specific section. So although they can see 360 degrees, maybe this dragonfly is looking at me thinking, what on earth is this girl doing? So it's able to focus within its visual field, if that makes sense. They have a sort of selective attention that's unknown among other insects. Stuck in bed, they have a very short life cycle, very similar to butterflies, most dragonflies. As an adult, remember, they've got different life phases. As an adult, they probably won't live longer than a year. I imagine most of the species here will be just for the summer. Simon's doing an incredible job. Look at this. So just like butterflies, from a few weeks, few months is not long. Is it eating or cleaning? Eating. Wow. Wow. it's using its mandibles. It's got very special mandibles. Mandibles is normally what we call the sort of jaw parts of insects. So it's not really a jaw. And he's eating. Gloria, he's not twitching. He's just moving his head at a rapid rate, processing everything that's going on around him. And that's what I was saying. They've got 360 degrees. How on earth do you begin to interpret all of that? So they just move their head very, very rapidly to try and understand what's going on around them. So there was a good example I once read. Imagine you're traveling across the ocean in a boat, right? And you see another boat ahead of you at a given angle to you. So let's just say it's not straight on, it's at some sort of other angle to you. And if you ensure that that boat is always at the same angle in your field of vision, your binocular field of vision, you'll ensure that they meet. You'll end up meeting that boat. You can pinpoint where that boat is, sail across the ocean, and meet that boat. Now, in sort of a dragonfly's field of vision, the dragonfly's brain itself can actually lock its attention on approaching prey, be it a small fly or mosquito, coordinate its speed, and it's not just speed, direction to ensure strike. So not only is the dragonfly locking its field of vision, it's got 360 degrees, but it's pinpointing one tiny small mosquito out of that entire field. It's able to coordinate, fly at speed, and strike, all within a few seconds of time. And it leads to almost a successful hunt every single time. So well-designed sensory organs, because insects do have really well-designed sensory organs, alone are not enough. You need a brain. You need a brain that can process all of that information as it streams in. Seeking the patterns, connections, correct messages to the different parts of body to allow a successful hunt. And that's what proves dragonflies do have a brain, and they are able to process remarkable amounts of information at one time. There's proof in the pudding right there. It's got a brain. Otherwise, it would not be able to execute that in the way that it does. Oh, well done, Simon. These views have been incredible. I think we're going to sit here just a little bit longer. We're going to send you across to Phinda. Say good afternoon.
Well, we're quite fortunate this afternoon to have quite a few different animal species, although most of them have now moved off. We had impala, we had a wildebeest, and we also had a troop of baboons that were interacting so peacefully. And it's not always an opportunity that you get to see these animals doing so with one another, especially out here in the greater Kruger. There, a couple of the baboons are just disappearing off into the distance. Everyone, but awkward position. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Kat, and we are here at Pridelands Conservancy, which is part of Tswalu Game Reserve as well as the Greater Kruger National Park. We have got quite a few other vehicles surrounding us, so we're going to try and play the game of avoidance, but I'm just going to lean off to the side very quickly. There you can see a nice mixture. It's probably my favorite wildebeest on Pridelands. We see him all the time. He has got a territory out here on zebra clearings, which is a very popular area. Nice green grass, lots of tall trees for a bit of shelter, drainage line, and there'll be pockets of water all the way around. And then, of course, Ndlovu Dam is just a stone throw away. So he really has got prime property over here. And the impala are also ones that frequent this area, and it's nice to have the baboons about. So they're not wanting to be on camera this afternoon. They're a little bit camera shy, but there's a couple of little ones running around. Perhaps they'll climb all the way up to the top of those boer beans, those scotia trees just behind them. You can see they're all gathering quite nicely together. There's another safari vehicle that you can see off in the distance, probably going to check in Ndlovu Dam to see if it is filled with elephants and other wonderful things. But it's a rather peaceful, nice sunny day in comparison to what it was this morning. Very overcast and quite cool. We've all got shirts on, obviously, and shorts. No jerseys and long pants for us today. And of course the bugs are out as they usually are, all the flies, especially the biting flies. Impala are not particularly impressed by it. But it is important that these animals gather like this. Yesterday it was a different group of animals that were on zebra clearings. It was the wildebeest. Sorry, just reaching for the game drive radio. There were a few impala, and then zebra and giraffe had joined the mix. There were no baboons though. But the baboons like to roost up in these big trees in the evening. And I think they're just coming out to take an advantage of the nice green grass. There's a baboon standing right on top of the tree. Well, I wouldn't want to fight an impala, to be honest. Whether an impala would be able to beat a cheetah in a fight, I think it would depend on a number of different things. But as you've seen with impala, especially the males, they are equipped with really big horns. And those are quite sharp on the end. And a big impala ram can weigh up to about 60 kilograms or so. So it's not a small animal. If an impala were to run straight at me, or even Cat for that matter, and Cat is a very tall guy. Do you think an impala would knock you off your feet if it hit you running at full speed? Cat is nodding his head vigorously, saying yes. It would knock him straight over. So I think it could definitely harm a cheetah, but cheetah are also, they're not the most powerful cat. We've obviously seen how beautiful and big their hindquarters are. I'm sure you've been watching the cheetah that live on andBeyond Phinda, and they rely on speed to bring their prey down. But if there's enough of them, if you see a big coalition, it's quite easy for them to bring prey down. It was amazing watching the Fast Five, the male cheetahs that live up in the Masai Mara in Kenya, bringing down wildebeest. That was truly spectacular. And even Topi. What's wrong with me? Topi, which was also still very impressive. It's quite a big antelope species, so they are very powerful. So those horns, they're there for protection, and they could definitely harm you. I was once, this was years ago. I was still in high school. I was knocked off my feet by a sub-adult impala. That was embarrassing. And I've also been knocked over by a wildebeest calf, and at a close proximity. So they're really powerful animals, and especially if the adrenaline is kicked in, they'll literally fight to the death. So this is quite a nice scene. If I was an animal, I'd definitely like to be here. I think with the baboons sitting up high on the tops of the trees, you'd have a good chance of spotting any predators. A cheetah, I don't think would go unseen here. It's a bit too open, and I don't think the grass is quite long enough to conceal them. But the giraffe are also not too far away. You might be able to see one just on the V of that tree if it moves, just behind the wildebeest really. There's a couple of them there too. So lots of eyes and ears out at the moment. Laura, honestly, I haven't got a clue how big a wildebeest horns are, but Kat's going to tell me.
36 inches.
36 inches, says Kat. That's how big a wildebeest horns can go. The width, not the length. Although if you had to straighten, imagine a wildebeest with straight horns going vertically up. That'd be very, very interesting looking creature. Maybe somebody wants to draw that for us. #WildEarth. Let's see the creative minds out there. Who's going to draw us a wildebeest with vertical horns? You can use this beautiful muse that we had, but he's now hiding behind the tree. Maybe I'll go around so we can get a better view. Yes, let's do that, and then I'll continue talking. So, wildebeest I think they're amazing creatures. They make me laugh a lot. They're definitely one of the more comical animals. We're going to go fast. I'm going to go around the bend just so we can get a better view, because they're all hiding away. And the reason why they've gathered underneath that scotia trees is actually a puddle of water. So maybe they're having a drink. It's always nice to see baboons having a drink. It's not a sight that's commonly seen. They're quite vulnerable. See them all interacting. I'm sad that there's no warthogs here with little piglets. But if you do drive into Pridelands, that is the prime spot that you'll see warthogs. There's a few little mud wallows around here. So I'm just going to go just literally around the bend, and we're going to turn in, and then we'll get a nice view. Hello, baboons. You're not running away. That's amazing. I want to get to the water. Do you think we'll manage to get to the water? So I'm going to put it into the big egg. Hi, little impala. Look at that. That's a perfect spot, eh? So you can. I'm just going to try and roll. Oh, crap! I've done that terribly for you, unfortunately. I'm so sorry. Poor positioning on my behalf. Oh well. There the little impala are, quenching their thirst on some of the ewes, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a sip of water and continue watching these animals.
How insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off.
It's just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The cock's holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky Wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it? Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we're coming to you live from the Chobe River? It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live, and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this. We have just arrived to Chitwa Dam. We need a bit of a moment or two to actually see what is going on around the dam. It's been a while since I've been in the south. Simon will give you lovely views of the dam. And I'm just going to have a little look and see what I can find. It's very quiet. I know that Tandy was spending a lot of time here. Sabui. But all of a sudden it's very quiet. You've got the resident hippos as always. And not much else. And that's of course because water is everywhere. It's so plentiful these days. Simon, where did you see the crocodile? Somewhere there. Maybe it's gone under. Crocodiles can also submerge, of course. We had a fantastic sighting with a rock monitor this morning. So it'd be nice to continue our reptile discussion. But I don't see it. Gave me a fright. Do you see the water buck over there all standing in the shade? Elijah, I'm not sure what you mean by that question. Why are hippos territorial? Why is any animal territorial, really? I think that's maybe the better explanation that I can give. And it's a form of selfishness. It's establishing social dominance in your area. And it's establishing something that you're claiming as yours. So, for example, resources. You are claiming that this dam is yours, or these ladies are yours. This area with all this delicious vegetation is yours. And it takes a lot for an animal to be dominant and territorial, claiming something as theirs. So although it comes at great costs, it provides greater fitness benefits, and that's exactly why they do it. So although they have to scent mark or helicopter style their feces as hippos do and yawn and fight and guard off other males, that all comes with taking up a lot of energy. But the fitness benefits are far greater, and that's exactly why they do it, because your benefit, your fitness benefit, is exclusive rights to food, a safety site, a refuge, nursery sites, breeding opportunities, females. And that's exactly why any animal will behave in a territorial manner. And it's not just hippos, it's such a wide range of animals. I often use the limpet example because it does make me laugh, but any sort of insects can be territorial, crustaceans, amphibians, reptiles, lots of birds, lots of mammals. It's not just hippos, of course. And they do call it in ecology selfish behavior. And it's designed, if you like, to ensure priority to any potentially contested resources. So you are challenging anyone that wants to contest you within your species and saying that this is yours. You can't have it. This is mine. And you can advertise, you can call, you can patrol, you can scent mark, you can be aggressive. Anything. Different species defend territories in different ways. But it's all costly. In terms of energy, the energy that's devoted to the defense of the territory is costly, no matter how hard you look at it.
Sorry about that, Aaron. So now we're traveling the border here, and all we're hoping is to pick up anything we could. And then, but when the sun go down a bit, I always have to return. I want to return back to the area where we lost the lion tracks this morning, where I believe there must be maybe in the places where we cannot maybe get in, I think. So this is where we're gonna go search afterwards. It's still quite warm for them to be able to move right now. So let's do something else here. That's why I came to this far east, hoping to find anything different before we go back to that area, trekking for these lions. But if they kill something, it's probably that it's got to be maybe a little bit of, delay of getting on and hunt, because this is what they do when they got a lot of meal. They weren't gonna move any further around. So that's what is probably happening. Dave, I don't know, look at that.
Yeah.
So here, we got a Maria, so you're asking if Juma closed during the raining season? No, don't close. So it's a lot of procedure in terms of how we operate. So often, you know, we manage the roads, how we're going to travel along this road. If it's soaking wet, we'd rather not to off-road so much. So that, you know, it's just to limit a lot of damage on the grasses, on land itself. And then, but yeah, it's actually not closed when it's raining. Still, you know, open for everyone. So here we've got a very much interesting plant. As you can see, it's very unique, far different to grasses. And it's got a very enormous leaves. And it's called a ground lily. That's a ground lily. And usually favorite for a kudu as well, those browsers. It's very slimy, and it's so much slippery. Even when you break that leaf, you will see that it's so much very loose. Probably for those female antelope when they eat them, and it's easy for them, those are pregnant, to able to deliver their baby. Similar like one of these plants we have in this area where there's deadly thorns, a wild shampoo plant, where it's pretty much the same, but then it's only the difference, this has got enormous leaves. Ground lily or crinum lily. So it's very interesting. Plants, usually they have very much tall looking twigs. Then at the end you all see round beautiful flower. So I believe none of the antelope have been here, and then they will chop all of this up. Joey, so I'm not sure in terms of medicinal purposes, that I'm not sure about, but there's a tubers underneath, like an onion size, or bigger than onion, but shaped like an onion. And then I never actually even seen an elephant dig down to eat them anyway. But the animal that I've seen them eat pretty much on that, it's a kudu. And the nyalas, those. And the mainly browsers, not even the impala could eat them yet. And always it's in a very much soft sand where it grows. And so I'm gonna just carry on along this road here, see, pick up anything else. It's quite a lot of different species of plants this time of a year. And then just gonna find out soon. We'll find more of these plants again. I'm gonna be sending you over across to Lauren again.
Another one of my favorites, the termites. Busy inside this mound. And they are the perfect example, actually, of altruism. There's a lot of debates. Does altruism really exist in the animal kingdom? Does it in any species? Let's just omit humans from this for now, because it gets rather complicated. And termites are said to be one of the best examples. Species that live in huge colonies, and only sort of one female per colony lays eggs. And the other individuals are sterile. The workers especially, the workers are the ones that sort of display the ultimate form of altruism. They give up all of their own reproduction and to service the reproductives, which is your king and queen. They can't reproduce. They do everything else so, all for the king, the queen, and the colony. And in The Origin of Species, Charles Darwin himself actually admitted that eusocial insects, so eusocial insects will also include bees, ants, and termites, those that have social castes. So eusocial insects in general will actually a challenge to his theory of evolution by natural selection. Natural selection was first coined by Charles Darwin, and then sexual selection developed from that. Because how can natural selection favour individuals that give up their own reproduction? It's all about reproduction at the end of the day. So why wouldn't it, and along the lines of evolution, why would natural selection favour for that? And that was one of the things that Charles Darwin struggled to explain. And a sort of plausible explanation did come up, I think, centuries later, or a century later. And within social groups of insects, the degree of relatedness, they're all related, is important in determining natural selection. So although it's just like when we talk about lions in a coalition, if the coalition is a band of brothers or a band of cousins, they're related, they still can reproduce by proxy. They still can continue their bloodline. It may not be their direct offspring, but it still benefits them. Whereas if you have a coalition of unrelated individuals, just random males, you can't. It doesn't benefit you if your coalition mate is the one to father the offspring, because you are not related to them. You are not reproducing by proxy. Whereas in a termite colony, all the effort is going towards the reproductive because it still benefits you at the end of the day. So the degree of relatedness has a strong point in evolutionary genetics. They give up everything for the colony. So when we talk about, we regularly say, myself included, I'm probably the worst one for it, to say it's all about your bloodline, it's all about reproducing, not the survival of the species, the survival of your very own bloodline for every organism. But then, when it comes to termites, that kind of throws a spanner in the works, because it's just they give up everything for their king and for their queen. None of the other individuals that you can see here, I think Simon can maybe give us a little bit of a closer look of all of them crawling, are fertile. None of them. They're all sterile. The queen will be in her royal cell with the king, getting larger and larger and larger, grotesquely large, I might add. They call this the royal cell. And everybody else here, every individual that you can see, is just working for the king and for the queen and for the entire colony. It's incredible. One collective, one soul. Dana, the termites never stop. They never sleep. They never rest. All of them. Now, it's not just the workers. The workers, of course, work all day and work all night. It's a bit like, hi-ho, hi-ho, it's off to work. Yeah, I'm not going to sing that. I think that was the Seven Dwarfs or something that song came from, but they don't stop. The workers will work, the soldiers will protect, and the king and queen, actually, I'm going to retract that statement that I just said. The queen will be constantly laying eggs. She does not stop. She is just an egg-laying machine. She doesn't move, and she gets larger and larger. The king is questionable. The king doesn't do much, but he doesn't leave her side. He doesn't leave the queen's side. Even when she gets a little bit chubby, he stays by her. But everybody does their job, their part, 24 hours a day. Maria, you're asking a good question, but a very complicated one. Because she's laying eggs. And she's getting larger and larger. And one of the sort of conundrums, if you like, is sometimes you will find that the queen gets so large that she's actually bursting out of her royal cell. And in lots of studies, they find that the queen gets moved. Or does she? They can't figure it out. Do the workers move her? Are they strong enough to lift up her big body? Probably not. Do the workers break down a wall and just make a bigger cell? Or does that queen die and another one takes her place? So you've got to remember, she is producing eggs. Lots of them. And social, environmental, and pheromones are what chooses the termite's caste. So when you're an egg and you hatch, you're either going to be a worker, a soldier, or a reproductive. Now, remember when we see the alates streaming? The alates stream in summer from little holes in the mound that are made by the workers. And then once all the alates have left the mound, the potential royalty, the workers close up the doors again. They seal up their doors. Now, these alates are the reproductive ones. They are the ones that will fly and start off their own colony. So when those eggs hatch, they're still inside the mound. There are reproductives, if that makes sense. They're not the king or queen yet, but they are termites that can reproduce and they can see. They do grow their wings and they get ready to fly, but if the queen was to die, she would be replaced by one of the reproductives. So what normally happens is the queen actually puts her sort of pheromone-laden poop, shall we say? Yeah, it's not very pleasant, on her young, on her eggs, to decide what they're going to be. It's all done through pheromones. But she will make that decision based on environmental and social cues. So depending on the pheromone, you're either going to be a worker, a reproductive, or a soldier. And the workers make up the bulk of the colony. 95% of the colony is made up of workers. But she has a really long lifespan. The workers and the soldiers normally have a lifespan of 2 years, give or take. The queen can live up to 45 years. It's not common for her to die until after that. One of the longest living insects, the queen, only the queen. And in that time, all she does is lay eggs. She's fed by the workers, they feed her. She can't feed herself. And she just lays eggs and lays eggs and lays eggs. An egg-laying machine. It's incredible. There's a really fascinating little clip on termites and the queen on YouTube. I can't quite remember. I think it's True Facts or something. And somehow they've managed to actually film the queen in her royal cell. I don't quite know how they did it, and it's really worth the watch. Libby, you are 11 years old, and believe it or not, termites are not related to ants. You would think that they are, but they're not related to ants in any way, shape, or form. They look the same, but actually, termites and ants are enemies. They cannot stand one another. Termites belong to the group called Blattodea. Blattodea. And it's the same group as cockroaches. I know not many people like cockroaches, but termites and cockroaches are very closely related. They belong to the same group. Just like the dragonflies and the damselflies, they belong to Odonata. And the butterflies and the moths, they belong to Lepidoptera. So the termites and the cockroaches, they belong to Blattodea. So even although they look like ants and they sometimes get called white ants, they're actually not related to ants in any way, shape, or form. But good question, Libby. Keep them coming. I'm obsessed with termites. From reading the book, The Soul of the White Ant, I'm obsessed with them. Jeff, I don't actually know how big the nest gets. I guess it depends on the size of the colony and the size of the actual mound. This is a very, very small termite mound in its early stages. And you can see the dark soil is a sort of new build. It's the recent construction work. It will harden, it will dry in the sun. But it's a very small one. It's just a mere lump sticking out of the ground, especially in comparison to some of the huge termite mounds we have around here. And I don't actually know the size of the nest. It needs to accommodate everyone. It needs to be large enough for everyone to move and breathe. I don't actually know the size. I would really love to properly cut a mound in half and inspect it. I would obviously never do that, but I would really love to see what goes on in there. It's very intricate, it's very complicated. There's cells and galleries and areas and tunnels and funnels. There's all sorts of things happening down there, and we just can't see it. And you know, there's no leader, there's no blueprint, they just know what to do. Ian, I'm not sure how to determine strength for you, I'm afraid. I mean, I could jump on this mound right now and it wouldn't crack. It's just like jumping on the ground. It's made, they make it themselves from saliva, soil, and water, and a little bit of dung sometimes. And it's incredibly strong. I mean, you look at the hyenas. The hyenas live in a termite mound. And the termites are also there. I think it's only partially active, but it's just a very solid mound, fundamentally made from hardened soil. So I could jump on this and it really wouldn't do any damage. But again, I'm not going to do that. They're extremely robust structures, and in South American Amazon, you can actually see some of the termite mounds from outer space. They're that large. From satellites, you can see the mounds. And they're made by the most minuscule insects. It's baffling. They really are the backbone of most ecosystems. You can't separate the termite from the ecosystem. They come as one. They are doing so much, completing many sort of essential ecosystem tasks and services every single day. And the workers are just working, they don't stop. Soldiers. The soldiers are the defense weapons. Now, I can't see any soldiers right now. I mean, we've not got the best view inside this mount, but I can only really see the workers. The soldiers you can identify. I actually think I have a drawing. One of Lauren's wonderful artistic work. Yes, I do. Are you ready, Simon? I don't know when I drew this. It was a very long time ago, but you can see on the left-hand side, you've got the workers. This is sort of what the body looks like. This is obviously not relative to size, but you can see that they've got very short mandibles. You just look here. Mandibles are the mouth parts, and it's very, very small, just to eat. And as with any insects, you've got the sort of head, the thorax, and the abdomen. But then, if you look at the soldiers, look at their mandibles. Huge, and this is their defense mechanism. They can actually really, really bite, and I actually got nipped by a soldier by accident the other day when I was inspecting the mound, and it's very painful. So the soldiers are the defense. They will always be around. They respond through vibrations and chemical signals. So what they will actually do, and it's really fascinating to watch, is if the soldiers sense danger approaching, if you approach a mound, they'll bang their head repetitively against the ground, and they're sending signals and they're sending vibrations back to the others in the colony. Danger ahead, danger ahead. And it's almost like a Chinese whisper. The next soldier will then pass on the message, and the next one. And it's just this effort of head banging, communicating through vibrations, as well as chemical signals. It's incredible. Their defense are the soldiers. All of them. They all respond. Mindy, you're saying the termite segments are so fascinating. Oh, thank you. I am rather involved with them. And the book I'm referring to is actually free online. You can get it as a PDF. So if any of you are interested in learning more about termites, you definitely can. You just Google the soul of the white ant and it comes up. It's a really, really fascinating and, I must say, easy read. It's not going to be a read that's going to weigh you down. But they don't even need eyes. Most of them, especially the soldiers and the workers, have vestigial eyes. Not even real eyes, they don't need it. Their sensory world evolves around vibrations and chemicals. Okay, I think Simon and I are going to sit here just a little bit longer to enjoy the termites. And we're now going to send you guys across to another location.
Welcome back, everybody, to Phinda, where we found two zebra, or I wouldn't quite call it a herd, but a little harm of zebra. The one I think that you've got in picture is the male that's looking at us now, acknowledging us, and then there's another one on the left that's a female, quite a lot lighter in color, but both have patches of that very dark brown or reddish sand on their backs, and I wouldn't be surprised if they've been having a bit of a dust bath at some time during the day in this very red iron-rich soil that we have down here in the south of this reserve. And the two of them are, as you can see, busy scoffing away. They both have their heads down, eating grass, and not very fussy. These hind gut fermenters that you see, they got those long strands of grass in their mouth as they're busy eating, and often appear very bloated. And sometimes if they get a fright or startled and run in every which direction, quite amusing to listen to zebra as they run away or run around and pass wind, should I say. This one not happy with what I've just said, but you can see that, yeah, really long strands of grass in their mouth. Not fussy eaters, zebra, bulk grazers, so they'll generally or typically go and eat the top half of the grass that you see, and then often things like Wildebeest that might be with them, they're selective grazers, so they'll then go eat the bottom half of that grass that might be a little bit more nutrient rich for them. And now that one is facing away from us on the right hand side, you'll be able to see it can be quite tricky to tell male and female apart, but that one that's now paused briefly, as it wags its tail, you'll see it's got a very thin black stripe between its legs. That's a male. The females have a very thick black stripe between their legs if they wag their tail. The other one on the left-hand side is not quite facing away from us just yet, so I can't really see that. But she's quite a bit bigger than him, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe she's got a baby on board. And quite a lot lighter in color. That male, geez, he's got some incredible markings on his coat. Very, very thick stripes, thick black and white stripes, and then the secondary stripes that they speak of as well. Both with their heads down and with this unbelievable little afternoon light that's coming in. When it hits their eyes, they've got the most incredible amber eyes, zebra. Tommy, you're asking how zebra will clean themselves. They generally, after a shower, are a little bit more clean than usual. But you might find them turning back, and with their teeth, they'll groom spots on their backs. But they generally don't, sit around and like you see with cats and other things, groom one another very often. So that's why you'll see those patches of dark brown on them is from that dust bathing. So that might stick around on them for a while, but also help with parasites and things like that otherwise might be on them. You also might see, I don't see any on these two, but things like red-billed oxpeckers that might be around digging in their ears and other hard-to-reach places that they otherwise can't get to for ticks, as well as parasites. But just looking at these two wagging their tails, quite happy here this afternoon. I'm really hoping that this female closer to us lifts her head up and we get to see those eyes that I was talking about. I love those markings on their faces, those almost diamond-shaped markings on their faces. And those ears also constantly just listening in. We were asked earlier what is the favorable prey species here. Prides of lions here will try and take down zebra. Obviously, there's quite a bit more meat on them for a pride of lions, but a kick from a zebra can put a lion out of action for quite a while, if not permanently. Fruit Loops, you're asking if each zebra has unique stripes. Absolutely, they will all have unique stripes. There have been a couple of pictures posted recently. I'm not sure if you've seen on the internet of some with almost completely black backs. And then I think in East Africa there was one that looked like a polka dot. It was a young foal that they found, but almost completely black with white spots on it, not so much stripes, which are obviously unique to that individual, but all of them will have unique patterns. Some of them you might see towards their backs or their rumps might have mix match spots, so where black meets white and white meets black, and that is often an indication that they've survived an attack from potentially lions, where a lion has jumped on their back and, with their claws cut into that skin and it's exposed it, left quite a bad wound. But when they heal, they'll heal opposite one another, so black to white and white to black. But just looking at that male now, incredibly, his neck compared to the female, a lot thicker. He's actually a bit of quite a large stallion. But the most incredible markings now, looking at him there on his front right shoulder, you'll see those almost like triangular patterns. So Fruit Loop, every zebra has its own unique patterns, but obviously that's similar in that with the stripes and those markings around their faces. But some, like that male, thicker black stripes and thinner stripes elsewhere. Such magnificent animals. Chidori, you're asking if the stripes on each side match the other side. I wouldn't say 100% match, but that'd be a very similar representation of either side. The easiest way for us to do that would be to take a picture, but sometimes our subjects aren't that willing to stand on the spot, turn around and do that for us, just to let us know, or just give us the answers themselves. So I wouldn't say 100% the same, but fairly similar. Much the same as Ngala and Kudu, the youngsters would have the same amount of stripes as their mothers. And those stripes obviously range quite a bit on them. But these two you might see, if they do change sides, we'll be able to see. I would say, towards the back end of this female here on the left-hand side, her stripes are very sort of faded, if I could say that. On the left-hand side would probably be much the same, also quite faded, but maybe of a similar pattern, not quite 100% identical. You can also see now on the front left leg, on the inside of that left leg, the front left of that male, as he stands, there's quite a dark patch, a couple of centimeters down, just below its chest. And that spot is if they are lying down, just so their hooves don't cut into this. So it's quite a tough or hardy skin that, so that their hooves don't cut into them. Such magnificent animals, and you can see now why they call them a dazzle of zebra. If there was a big herd of them and they were to get startled, if lions were hunting them, those stripes that are going in every which way can be quite confusing to a predator, so much so that they might stop. But now you can see that thick black stripe that I was talking about on the female, as well as Fruit Loop, the left-hand side of that female, very, very different now, or the back end of her, very different to that of the right-hand side. So not quite 100% identical either side, but fairly similar. I'm not sure if you heard that huff now from her, much like that of a horse. Black widow spider, you're asking why some have some just white legs, others stripes. So these plain zebra typically have stripes all the way down to their hooves. There are different species of zebra. You get mountain zebra as well. They do not have stripes all the way down. But that female, now just looking a little bit more carefully, actually looks relatively old. So maybe just over time her stripes on her leg have faded somewhat. So that is also another reason why they might not have them all the way down to their hooves. But you can see towards the back of her, or sort of halfway down on her back legs, 1 or 2 stripes still there, but the rest have slowly faded. Tall manes, and again on that female, that mane also has this darker patches of that red soil that we have here on Phinda, and when they do roll around, they will literally roll all the way back round on their backs, sort of much like a dog actually, when they're rolling around in the grass, and then they'll flip over to the other side. And they kick up a bit of a fuss when they do that. And it makes for really, really interesting pictures. There were a couple of European bee-eaters that flew overhead that we heard calling. Sadly, none of them perched by for us to show you, but we'll keep searching. Not a bad area to look for the little bee-eater as well. But a really beautiful view that these two have found themselves in. Paul, you're asking how zebra stripes help protect them from bugs. They don't really help protect them in terms of bug defense. But for zebra, a lot of the time it's ticks and things like that they might get from walking through vegetation that they're in now, and that's when the oxpeckers will help. They wouldn't really get pestered by bugs. But also not uncommon to find birds that would, like lilac-breasted rollers, maybe even fork-tailed drongas, that will follow animals like this because they're fairly large and can kick up grasshoppers and the likes that then they'll go eat, but not really too affected by bugs. Bugs are actually quite fond of them if they defecate, or if there's dung around. Those bugs, or dung beetles rather, would then go and land on that and use that dung. And on that note, both of them look like they are moving off to greener pasture, so we'll leave the two in peace and we'll see what else we can find this afternoon. Maybe now that it's cooling off, we managed to find those cheetah.
Cool, so now we come to these beautiful trees all around us. As you can see, all of the knobthorns, acacias, nigraces, favorite for a giraffe the most. The reason we want to have a look at that, there is a nest. It's probably for a butterfly eagle, where it's actually very hard to tell if there's anything there because it's far away and then we can't see much to the top. If there is something there, then it's probably maybe one of the young ones. And they use the twigs, as you can see, a lot of the big twigs collect by both partners to combine them there in that fog of the tree. It's very stable and balanced. And it's amazing call from the background, southern yellowbill, hornbill. So if it's a chick there, then for the battle it means the parents both somewhere searching for food, and then they will always bring it back to that nest. So acacia nigrace is always beautiful trees for such moss eagle to make their nest, because it's got such a beautiful fog and it's safe for
Do you see it? It's on the ground now. There's just one here, Simon, on the middle of the road. There's a bird here that I need your help, everyone. I cannot... Sorry. I'm struggling to identify this bird. At first I thought it was a cuckoo. It's big. Very, very large in size. It's just hunted a grasshopper for us. It was incredible, a really large grasshopper. But I'm not sure. Can any of you help me identify this bird? There's the other one. The other one's visible now. I've been taking photos of it. At first I thought it was possibly, oh, off we go, a great spotted cuckoo, but now I'm not so sure. I don't know what it is we're looking at. This bird is always on cheetah cutline. I see it every single day and I can never get it to stay still for long enough to put it on camera. So at least that's been an achievement. Wow, what have you just caught? Another grasshopper. I don't know if that is oh yeah, it is a grasshopper. Wow! Would you look at that? An elegant grasshopper just lost its life. Yes, so I was right. It is a greater spotted cuckoo. Thank you, everyone. I don't know why I doubted myself, but I completely did. Okay, it's a greater spotted cuckoo. They both are. Wow! Look at its really, really feathery legs. And down the gullet it goes. Can you believe that? That's the second grasshopper this individual bird has had in the space of 2 minutes. Somebody's hungry. Now, the body shape of cuckoos are quite easy to identify, and that's why I thought this is a cuckoo, but I don't know why I doubted it. And it's on the hunt. They're a breeding migrant. Cuckoos are breeding migrants. They arrive here for summer. Food is plentiful, as with all the other migrants. And they normally, again, arrive in October, November, and they leave sort of March, April, May time, all depending on the year and how successful that's been. And any migration is actually such a magnificent spectacle and thought to think about. You can get migrants that come individually and just arrive in a place, or you can just get a sheer abundance of migrations, like the Wildebeest migration up in Tanzania and Kenya. It's an amazing feat of precise navigation. An individual or a group of species is able to navigate and go to another place. And I personally feel that's what fascinates humans about migration. Monarchs, the sandhill cranes, sea turtles, lots and lots of species of birds that arrive here seasonally. The wildebeest, the cob up in South Sudan. So many different migrations all across the world, and it's far grander than just movement, a patterned movement of species, because it suggests premeditation. It's planned. It's an event that's planned. The animals know what they're doing. They're moving from one area to another, most likely for resources. It's most likely to breed and for resources. Those are the two sort of reasons that animals migrate. And the willfulness, the strength is almost inherited. It's almost innate within the species, in their DNA, that they know how to migrate, when and why. And it can be environmental cues, biological cues all working together that signal it's time to migrate. The time is happening. It can be shorter day lengths. The cue is sort of hormonal change. Let's see if we can get closer. And that's how species know it's time to move. We get lots of different species here. I've forgotten the name. I'm sorry, Elson, you'll have to remind me. Oh, here we go. But they're all breeding migrants. They all come here to breed. And the other day we got really, really lucky with the Diderik's cuckoo, Jensen. And I'll actually get my bird book out. Give me one moment to get that organised. It was my first Diderik's cuckoo that I managed to get on camera as well. I was rather impressed with that. But you don't find them in winter. They come here to breed. Okay. And feed, clearly. We're very hungry because it's the energy to breed. You're getting the energy here with the plentiful food supply to breed. You can get the red-chested cuckoo. I'm going to show you all these images in just a moment. The common cuckoo, the African cuckoo. Those species, there's other species we don't really get here. The great spotted cuckoo that we're looking at right now. The thick-billed cuckoo. The black cuckoo. The Diderik cuckoo. Class cuckoo, Levelon's cuckoo. You always have to say that with a French accent. And a Jacobin. Now I'm quickly just going to show this page here on my bird book so you can have a look at the different species. So there you can see this page are the ones that are quite common around here. So for example, this pair down here, 4 and 5, you will see that this is the Levelon's cuckoo, number 4. Simon, and it's got a bit of a barred chest, but it's very similar looking to number 5, which is a Jacobin cuckoo, but it's missing the barred chest down here. But in flight, you can get quite confused between the two. And if we jump up to the top, this is a Diderik's cuckoo. Really obvious from that emerald colour and that red eye. Quite similar in appearance to number 1, which is a class cuckoo, but you can see there's differences. There are differences, and it does not have a red eye. We see all of those cuckoos. I'm just going to turn the page. And here you have another page. For example, this one's got a red chest. The one that we're sort of... Oh, it's on a different page. Yes, it's on a different page. This is a common one. A really, really barred chest. You get this one out here too. You get the African cuckoo. These are all quite similar, grey in colour with sort of unique, different key features that separate them. And then one more page. That's a lot of pages. Yes, this is what we are looking at here. The greater spotted cuckoo. This one. Although I would say the coloration is slightly off, but that's okay. And you get the thick-billed cuckoo and the black cuckoo. So there you have it. These ones are not cuckoos, I'm afraid. So in answer to your question, we get a lot. And most of them are breeding migrants, so they will disappear. But this was the one we were just looking at, which has disappeared. But this appears very black in the book, but I must say it's really, really not black. I would say it's very, very grey in colour. It's quite light grey as well. So unfortunately, we've got another vehicle in front of us now, and we don't have the bird. So we may have to navigate around here. The bird has disappeared, but I just love cuckoos. They've all got calls as well. They're all here to feast on all of the insects, to get strong, to breed. Again, so all about reproduction. If you're a bird, that is, not if you're a termite. Okay, I'm going to try and navigate around this vehicle here. I don't quite know how. We're a little bit barricaded in, I'm afraid. Elton, we're a little bit stuck here. We can't move forward. Let me see. Okay, the other vehicle's moving. Just give us a moment. Oh, Okay, as I navigate around the vehicles here, we are going to send you across to Yapi for an update.
So we have left the reserve. We had some visual to see them was very, very tough, and they moved a little bit further off the road, and then it became even tougher to see them. So we've decided to leave that area completely, move away from the areas around the river, and head towards a very large watering hole in the western edge of the reserve. Now, this particular area, we haven't been driving it a lot lately, and we're not sure at all what we might find here. I know the last time we drove in this area, there was a young male leopard moving around. But I'm hoping at least to get a view of some hippos and maybe even a crocodile. Now, this particular part of the reserve is also, it looks a little bit different than the areas around the riverbed. Overall, in its current state, it's quite dense, but generally speaking, it's got flat, low-lying areas, and it's a little bit more open than the areas around the riverbed. It doesn't have those floodplains, but it does have good spots for large congregations of impala, zebra, and wildebeest. And one of those areas is just up ahead. Talia, where do all these animals sleep? They generally sleep, the general game sleep in the open areas. Now, clearings like the one coming up ahead is a good spot for them to sleep. It allows them to, once their eyes have adjusted to the dark, to see approaching danger. And also they gather there because it's good food. It's usually not too far away from water, which they'll go drink early morning and late in the afternoon, which is something that we're hoping to see once we get to the watering hole. But they sleep, some of them lay down while others might be awake during the night time, and the congregation of animals helps them to spot danger easier. Then animals like the predators, they move around at night time mostly. I know that there's a lot of hyena activity in this part, but there are some dry riverbeds which the animals might settle in for the night with some cover, whether if it's raining or if it's a windy evening. Now this part's more sandy, so the vegetation is different. And in this particular part there's a lot of marula trees as well as silver.
Maybe it was this morning. Sorry about that. And we stop here just to observe. It looks like there was wild dogs in this area. We can see it's actually very harder to see. It's probably either midday, I think, on the edge, as you can see there, everyone. So these all the wild dogs. I would think maybe during the day or so, or early in the morning. And it's been a lot of a vehicle drove this road. This is the main road, the southern boundary between the little Gari and the big Gari, which is Juma. So where they're going, if they didn't cross up to the west, which is then it's going to be Aratuza, we're going to still stick with this track to follow. And then it's very exciting. There was not even nothing on the radio this morning about the dogs, and so we're going to try follow them. So if we get lucky, and they run always. So they're not an animal that are always static. They're always on the move. And the road here has been fixed, some parts of the damaged, where we don't see this clearly, tracks, but so safari, you're asking what has been my favorite experience being in a safari. Sure, it's an experience that I will never forget. I always say, and that so once in a while, it was a long time ago, that I had that was a bad one. It was not actually exciting things where I stuck out in the bush in the pouring rain, and then we stuck in fact in a river. So we couldn't manage to get everyone out of that, and there was no communication to get a help from anyone. So I have to walk back to the camp, like 4 Ks back to the camp, and then get a help from there. And it was pouring rain. The only thing that I was worried about was an herd of elephants. That maybe it would be a problem for me, but didn't actually have too much worry about leopard or lions, that we always track them on food and things like that. So that was my worst experience in the bush, about only stalking, you know. I never have a problem with elephant charge or threatening the animals so that they will charge back to me, no. Where we have to check carefully here, because it's very dry sand, and this is actually now the west end and the east end, where there's a Rachusa property, there's a Juma in this area. So but looks like they cross to the west, but it looks like it. So what I'll do, I'll probably cross channel there to find out if there's any dog around that they know about. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue checking if there is a chance that they came back to Gari. Jared, so you're asking how often do we see lions pride hunt on safari? So that actually, it happens quite often, but you know, it's depending on the weather, which weather that allows that animal to get to mobile. But sometimes, you know, if it's too much hot, then you're more likely to see them lying flat until you knock off, and then they started to get mobile while you're not there. But if it's a chance of cloudy, they're more likely to be move around, so that, you know, they have a lot of strategy, they have a lot of things, they have a lot of powers because of the weather allowed them. So we actually do see them quite often during the day hunt, when there's also available of animal species around them. You see them do that also during the day. So not only at night, but also during the day when it's cooler. And the lions, they are one of the animals, they always rely on each other in a group. Work as a team, cooperate hunters, and the pride, that's how they succeed killing. So this is what happened. But otherwise, lions, lone lioness, that's going to be very difficult, and then it's never an easy thing for them as they always separate from one another. It's very difficult for lone lioness to hunt on her own or by himself when he is ever lost the pride. And those lions that they're sometimes separated from the pride, they're more likely to be even active any time of the day because they're not sure when they're going to get their meal. Especially if it's the female, where they push too much on a hunt. So these dogs, I'm not sure which packs this could be. And then, yeah, I'm gonna try find out. In the meantime, I'll be sending you across to Lauren with her update.
Good luck, Andrew. I know there was wild dogs running around Arathusa this morning. So good luck in finding them. We're heading to Buffelshoek Dam. I really hope... Oh! I was just going to say I was looking for a nice one, Simon. I was just about to say I'm looking for elephants, and hello.
Yeah, I just want to check Buffelshoek mobiles.
Lo and behold, we've got some. Or we've got one at least. Now you have to approach elephant sightings really, really carefully because it's so thick and dense, it's actually really difficult to see elephants, believe it or not. So you have to make sure that there's not an elephant or another member of the herd just somewhere there that's going to get a little bit upset about you joining. So that's why I'm just going to drive at a snail's pace. Go forward a little bit more, Simon. You get him from here? Okay. Because I can see all the mess that the elephants have made all day long, but I wasn't able to find you. Now I'm glad I have. You're not wet, so I don't think you've been at the dam, but there's lots of streaming from the temporal gland. You see that? Temporin is what you call that substance. And because it's so oil-like, it stains the skin. Smelling. Are you smelling us? Elijah, why not? If you were an elephant, why would you not roll in the mud? I absolutely would. You've got incredibly dry skin. It's hot. You haven't got fingers to scratch. You've only got trees to rub against. Can you imagine rolling in the mud? How good that would feel. It would dislodge any parasites and ticks. Elephants do get ticks. And I know this sounds a little bit bizarre, but sometimes you will see an elephant rubbing its genitals on a termite mound. It stands above it and rubs, and it's probably getting rid of a few itchy, scratchy bits, but it also helps pull out the ticks because the soft tissue of the ears and the genitalia, it's exactly where ticks lodge onto. They can't pluck them out, they don't have fingers. So rolling in the mud when it's dry feels great on the skin. But rolling in wet mud, whew, that's a whole other story. That must just feel great. So hot out here, they can't sweat. Their wrinkly skin will hold the mud. It'll help cool them down. It'll just feel great. That's exactly why they do it. You know what it's like when we get dry skin. If we've maybe been in the sun too long and we start to peel and our skin goes all flaky and it gets itchy, it's a horrible feeling. And, well, we don't really roll in the mud, but we do moisturize. We do try to nourish and hydrate the skin, and that's what they do. Some of the summer days out here are unforgiving. What are you doing, Mama? It's a female. You can see big swollen mammary glands. I wonder if she's pregnant. She is positioned at a very strange angle. If you see an elephant from far away, just look for the sort of mammary gland area and it'll be very apparent if it's male or female. I do wonder if she's pregnant. If she does turn around to the side, we might get a view. But some of the summer days here are really unforgiving. I mean, the heat, I have no words. So they've all got to do what they can to stay cool. Towards us. I think we're just going to move out of her way, Simon. I see you, don't worry. We're going to get out of your way. We're just going to pull up to the side here. Okay, we're going to try and stay with this female just a little bit longer and see what she gets up to.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... Oh. That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
For the month of January 2021, we are offering a chance to win a unique WildEarth expedition to the magnificent Tswalu Kalahari. From the ancient Kortai's Koranenberg Mountains to the southern Kalahari's red sand dunes, Tswalu offers what travelers crave most: space and time. The winner will explore this landscape in a vehicle, on foot, or on horseback, with a chance to go behind the scenes with WildEarth and of course meet the meerkats. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend at the luxury Motse Lodge, including flights from either Johannesburg or Cape Town. Open to all WildEarth explorers who have signed up before the end of January 2021. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back, everybody, to andBeyond Phinda, where all you couch twitchers at home, we've managed to find a crowned hornbill perched at the top of that fig tree that you see in picture. It's got that incredibly red bill with somewhat of a casque on it, quite a dark head and chest, and then a little bit of white below, and quite a special bird for us here on Phinda. And to finally get one in picture is a special treat. I'm not sure if all of you have ticked that off your list, but a really nice bird for us to find out here and show you. I think now that I've said that, it's flown away. But earlier on we were talking about bee eaters as well. So on that fig tree, I wouldn't be surprised if there are a couple of fruits that crown hornbill was busy feeding on. A little bit further to the right-hand side, I can't see that hornbill anymore. It looks like it's disappeared. I'm hoping that we can show you there's quite a big flock of European bee eaters perched now. They were all busy diving into the watering hole behind us. And if we zoom in on they are quite tricky to see because they blend in so well. But on the right-hand side there are at least about 15 of them there perched. And that family of birds has the most beautiful colors on them. That very yellow face, lightish blue rufusy chests, and those yellowy red wings. So just on that fig tree on the top on the right, Owen, if you zoom in there, I'd say a quarter of the way down, the very far one, so past the dead tree, past here, the one with all the greenery, I'd say about a quarter of the way down, you should be able to see. Yeah, one or two in the dead tree. So if you look just below that to the right, there are another couple of dead branches with even more perch there. And yeah, they've all just had a bit of a bath, diving into the water behind us, and then have gone up there to preen themselves. And that unmistakable call of theirs, I'm not sure if you heard that shriek, but that was a golden-tailed woodpecker that you heard now. There's a rattling testicular that without a doubt you'll hear for the most part in the bush. And if I keep quiet, we might just be able to hear a couple of those bee eaters, as they call, but they usually call in flight. I haven't heard any of them now that they perched. But such dense foliage here, so really, really good for birds to nest inside of there and make home. There's that abundance of, now after rain, those alates that they would then feed on. And obviously with the water there that they could then go bath themselves in when they are done. But if I ask Owen to pan on the other side, have a look at this. The incredible amount of the yellow-billed storks and African spoonbills here on the banks of this watering hole. There is a massive flock of them all taking to flight. And this afternoon there must have been about 50 pelicans in here as well. And just listening to them coming into land was quite something, with all the flights that have halted over the last period due to, travel restrictions and the likes. To hear them coming in was actually quite something. And I think just looking at this little bit of cloud cover that we've got, we are probably going to be in for a treat of a sunset a little bit later on, looking back over to the west. One or two Ngala bulls also down here, busy grazing on the grass. Out in the open. One or two of those spoonbills now going at each other, vying for the perfect perch there. And those unmistakable bulls are theirs. That's how they get their name. But most of them you can see all busy preening themselves, their feathers, twisting those bulls right back to get at them. And now that it's starting to cool off a bit, now's the time when we can start to look for things like leopards and other predators. Maybe things like lions, if we're lucky enough as well. There are tracks of some in this area as well. That a little bit of a breeze now starting to pick up as well. But such an amazing setting this year at this watering hole. Looking at those two Ngala bulls, I'm not sure, excuse me, if anyone has seen them display what they call the lateral display. When they stand that hair up on their backs, that white hair, and walk really, really slowly past one another, size one another up, and then walk away. So instead of locking horns, that's what they'll do, because if Ngala do lock horns, it could end fatally for one, if not both of them. But that's what they do. These two seem like they're best of buddies, grazing close to one another. And in an area like this, prime for things like leopard to be hanging around that dense vegetation that they absolutely love. Wouldn't be surprised if there are still some maybe resting, because it is still relatively hot, starting to cool off quite nicely now. So if they haven't gone for a meal for a while, now is the time when they'd start to move about. Hear the distant cries of a brown-hooded kingfisher. Wouldn't be surprised if we see one or two pied kingfishers. In fact, there's one that's just flown across the water. Two that have flown across the water and perched a little bit further behind us. There comes a third. Such pretty birds there. There we go. Unbelievable camera footage. Owen's just broken his back to get that one in picture for you. Thank you. But nice to see what we're talking about visually, and then to hear the name as well. To tick off that, imagine is a couple of pages long now, with everyone birding in the vicinity. What I might do now is just head into that area where we've had quite a bit of luck with that female leopard and see if it doesn't pop up. But though you're asking where all these birds hide at night, they won't specifically hide. They might just, as one or two of them are, they perch themselves in a tree to spend the evening. Or if they've got nests nearby, they'll go back to their nests, but they won't hide per se. They definitely won't stick around on the ground where they are, because they are far more vulnerable to predation down below. But they will most likely perch in a tree for the evening. There you go. Sorry, and I'm going to ask you to bend around again now that all those European bee-eaters have taken off. You can now see them all in flight, and that unmistakable call, if I keep quiet for 2 seconds, you might be able to hear them a little bit better. But there was a hardy-dar that perched itself in the same tree, so maybe they all got a bit of a fright. But have a listen to that. Such a pleasant call.
We're still on our way to Baboon Dam. Marcel just brought us our infrared light, which means we can now stay out till the very end of drive, where we'll be able to see animals in the dark using the infrared capabilities. We used to have to leave drive early because we don't use any artificial light, but now we have a working infrared light, and Marcel brought it directly to us, so all is good. There's lots of elephants around here, so I'm probably driving a lot slower than I normally would. It's almost golden hour. My favorite time. It's a beautiful time for photography as well. The four-way junctions here, just like at home, you've got to stop and look. You can't just fly through them, not because there's going to be other traffic, but because there could be animals. Okay, we're almost at the dam. I wonder what we're going to find. Elton, I think you just rom-commed us there. I'm not sure if that was meant for us. Up here we have 2 yellow-billed storks against a sky that does contain some clouds up there that look, could be the start of a storm coming in. The heat may break. And both of these individuals, I'm not sure if it will be apparent, but they're tinged pink. And that means that they're in their breeding plumage. It's not obvious pink, it's not flamingo pink, it's not deep rich pink, it's just a tinge. It's just off-white. And that definitely means that they're in their breeding season. And they are monogamous, of course, or they say they are. So this is most likely the male and female, but the sexes are so alike that it's very difficult to tell. They're just perched up on the tree here. Maybe they're having a domestic. Maybe they're having a fight. Who knows? They're on opposite sides here. I love that contrast of the 2 primary colours, red and yellow. Palula, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they have sensory nerves. Do you mean sensory cells on their beak? I'm not entirely sure. Look at that. Stunning views. At least with a beak like that, you can actually get into all the itchy, scratchy places. It's long enough to do so. I didn't catch that name, but you're asking, are these birds territorial? I don't believe so. I believe they're nomadic and they do follow sort of water. So if Bufosuk Dam was to completely dry out in the next few days, which is not going to happen, these birds would disappear. So they respond to water levels. And therefore it'd be very difficult to be territorial when you require water, because the water here may not always be permanent. Ooh. You're really getting into all the awkward areas up there. So no, I believe they're nomadic. They follow water, which provides food. Now, of course, this summer has been very giving, as has last summer, and therefore there's lots of water around. but the summer before that it wasn't the case, and it led to a very harsh winter. And they can migrate, not all of them, but they can migrate in order to find a monogamous partner, in order to breed within Africa. So normally you find species that do migrate, that do move, they're not territorial. But some birds, you will find that they actually have temporary territories. So when they migrate and they reach their new home, they can set up little territories there. Or they return to the same one. But these birds, I believe, are nomadic. And there's actually a really fantastic example of birds and that, the hooded warblers. Yeah. And it's a hippo. Hello, hippo. They're tiny little birds, very, very small birds with superb navigational skills. And they make an annual migration from eastern US to Central America. And they return to the exact same little patch of forest every single year. It's a very, very small patch. And it's the one that they occupied the previous year, and the year prior to that, and the year prior to that. So they established their own little residencies. So although they're migrants, they will return and take ownership of the same territory, of that same little turf every single year. And when they arrive, they sort of establish their territory through song and active border patrol. And I will come back to that topic in just a little bit later. For now, guys.
Thanks, Lauren. This is actually very cool out here. What you can see here, we got a Tingana, the leopard. He's sitting right on top of the mound. And the tracks that we were tracking now, the dogs, the update, they say that they in Aratuza, so they're out of reach for us. But for a turn, I think for a change, it's very good that, Tingana, it happens, he was moving the road, along that road we're at. And we just grab standby immediately, and then we respond to it, which is just right there. So you may hear a lot of talking in the background. We've got 2 vehicles, so including me, we have 3 vehicles in this lock. So we're in Simbambile, the property where he's at right now, the Tingana. And he can't stop listening around. As you can see, his ears switching all different positions. And the last time when I last saw him, that afternoon, and then we thought that maybe he crossed into the north. But it's such amazing that he makes his way back to the west again. Everyone, I agree with you all. It's such an amazing sighting, especially that Tingana, we know of him so much in and out of this area. Where he's at right now, it's also another male that's dominating around here, we know, and that's Hukumuri. And for the past few weeks that we've seen him pushing one another, or Hukumuri actually was pushing these male Tingana back to Juma, and then again he hasn't given up. He's back into this area. Probably this is going to keep going for a while. And he's so strong looking, beautiful animal right now. Kali, so you're asking how old is this male Tingana? Around 15 and a half, 16 years somewhere there. But he still looks strong though. So with the leopard, when they grow older, they grow what's called dewlap under their throat, where all of the skin will hang. So also behind the ears, just look like they still have the cut right in the end, top. And a lot of flies, that's why these ears are all twitching. You won't probably get to move because he was seen moving. That's why he got into this position. And the last time I think he was seen near the dam, the guy says so. And then this is all about him moving now directly east, where the boundary probably what a cage down in the east. So I'm gonna stay put here. If no one interested, then I'm gonna stay here for the next. Have a look at him. I'm gonna be sending you over across to Taylor.
Of Ezzelwini, and perhaps you did catch the sunrise safari this morning, where we had a beautiful view of him. He was out in the open crossing zebra clearings. Now, of course, well, what does an elephant need to do after it consumes much vegetation is, of course, go to the toilet. And they do this all the time. A fully grown elephant like Ezzelwini will probably defecate every single hour. So he is dropping many kilograms of dung every single day. Sorry, I seem to have had some...
Thanks, Taylor. So now, okay, cool. We finally got here's a little bit of his face now. With the temperature drop a little bit, so as a cat, they gain a lot of energy to be able to move around so much, do their work, patrol their territory, hunting at the same time. So he's probably on one of those, hunting or sense marking the territory boundary. So Marcus, you're asking how dangerous is a leopard compared to a hyena? A leopard, I think it's more than the hyena. Hyena, they seem to respect human quite a lot. The problem if you ever sleep outside and of the building and things like that, and of course they have a very strong jaw. They will suffocate you to death. And a leopard, in general, they are dangerous. That's why they're one of the big five, especially when they have cubs or when they're injured. And that becomes so much dangerous for anyone walk around them. But when they're normal, it's fine. We track them on foot, find them, go get a car, go back to the last place where you saw that cat, and it's still stationary. But that kind of dangerous when we're there still talking about this kind of thing, you know, it depends what kind of situation that animal is at. If it's ever cornered, it's gonna need its axis to get out, and you're in an entrance somehow. And that can be very much dangerous to you, or that could be done by any even animal that we thought they're not dangerous. Just beautiful, stunning cat. He wanted to sleep. He wants to close his eyes, and he always remember that he's gonna move. He's gonna hunt. I'm not sure when the last he's eaten. Such a beautiful whiskers there. The whiskers actually could help cats at night when they move. So one of the sensors in front of them were able to feel anything on front before they'll be touching that object. So if it's a wood or grass, especially when they're on a hunt, wherever the whiskers fit, then the whole body of the animal will fit. Sorry, can you repeat that question again?
From that side, you might move up bullshit. I just choose to come on this stuff because I want to see the face.
So we really want to know if this cat physically can get anything like fevers, and generally cats or lions it's quite harder to tell. If they could sometimes, but you won't tell. The only thing usually to tell when he's sick or anything that takes place is it's when that animal is losing condition or mange involved in their skin, and you always see the coat, all these spot patterns disappear because the patterns also, the whole fair has been involved in the situation where there's the mange just has an itchiness. It's one of the parasites that usually infect a lot of animals, lions, or most of the other animals as well as those impalas and things like that. So, as you can see, it's quite a lot of vehicle coming here. I'm going to find out if there is anyone coming in, otherwise I would like to stay for this cat. I'm going to stay and put for now.
Welcome everybody to andBeyond Phinda. We mentioned leopards getting active now at this time of day. Have a look at who we found on some very flimsy branches. That female leopard that we spent quite a bit of time with. As a couple of viewers might know her as the Ntabakosi female, but up at the top of that tree there, still fast asleep. But she was found in the open areas behind us and has made her way up to the top of that perch. Almost looks like somewhat of a nest. And I wouldn't be surprised if, well, yeah, lovely vantage point up there for her to spot things like herd of impala or the likes. But there where she is, literally fast asleep. We had a bit of a reshuffle now and everything seemed to move that beneath her. So not the most sturdy of trees, but comfy enough for her to catch up on some sleep. For now, before darkness falls and she'll start to get a little bit more active during the night, and then potentially look for a meal. But a little bit further away from the spots that we've usually been finding her. Maybe just had to venture off a little bit further to find food. But she is now coming of the age where she will be able to have a litter of her own. And she has been seen mating with males, which is really encouraging. So we never know, and that was a couple of months ago. So now would be the time, gestation of about 3 months. So now would be the time where we should find a spot to den and have those cubs.
Right under the nose of the jam cam, we have the Territoriality Pride in the heart of Juma. In the core area of Juma, Gowrie Dam, lies the Territorialities. My goodness, you guys. I think Andrew spent all morning looking for you. They must have been in the drainage. And obviously we can't off-road on Juma at the moment, so it's a little bit tricky. And they've obviously came out of the drainage now that it's started to cool down, and they're right underneath. Well, sort of. Very close to the jam cam now, which is Gowrie Dam. We had them last night at Jacana Dam. Now, if you don't know the area, that's absolutely fine. But if you do, it's quite a distance. They obviously headed straight south after we left them last night. Such a gorgeous pride, and although I miss Nkohumas dearly, I must say I'm overjoyed to really get to know this pride. I mean, the first 1.5 years I've been here, I didn't ever see the Talamatis. Now, they're not on a kill, or a large one at least. I imagine they would have had some food. I'm just looking at this one that's sitting up, Simon. I'm just wondering what she's looking at. Oh, nothing. I think we were just repositioning. But yes, we never saw them. They always stayed up in Bufalsuk and the Manguleti side, but now they've started to push a lot further down south, and it's just wonderful to get to know them, to start to recognise them. They're a very tight-knit, close pride. Let's do a count. From what I can see, I imagine there are others up on the embankment, but I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. But I imagine just round to the right there, we've got a bush, so we can't see. But I'm guessing there'll be more. I'm so happy Andrew got Tingana for you all. I knew he was going to pop back at some point. Hopefully he'll cross east and be back on Juma for tomorrow. Don't make a kill on Simpampili Tingana. I don't actually know. I'm guessing you're referring to the gums. Maybe we can just... Yeah, that's just what I was thinking there, Simon. And it's possibly for protection. I mean, giraffes' tongues are black due to melanin, which is said to sort of keep it nice and protected, as melanin offers structural support, makes tissue a lot thicker. And, of course, giraffes need that when they're feeding on the trees and putting their tongues into all sorts of thorny vegetation. It could possibly be that reason, but I'm not entirely sure. Of course, lions are not putting their heads into thorny vegetation, but what I mean is that they are, of course, crunching down on carcasses. There can be lots of sharp edges to bone. Bone can be very sharp, and therefore it possibly just gives the skin, the soft tissue of the gums, a little bit more reinforcement. But this really is the perfect day to spend time with lions. They'll get mobile soon. Mova, good question, but you've got it muddled up. So, no male belongs to the pride. The pride belongs to the males, really, if you think about it like that. So the Avoca coalition is 3, and they don't split. So it's Dark Mane, Blondie, and Mohawk. They split physically, yes, but it's still the coalition. So the coalition establishes a really large territory, and within that territory will reside different lion prides. And we know that they're dominant over the Talamatis and the Nkuhumas, and I'm not too sure about the Torchwood Pride, actually. They're a bit of a mystery right now, but the Pride falls under the dominant coalition. So the Talamati spend most of their time with Darkmane, but that doesn't mean they won't spend time with Mohawk and Blondie. They absolutely will. It's the entire coalition as a unit, as a band, as a group, all three of them that are the dominant males over this Pride. So although Darkmane is with them 24/7, and it appears that Blondie and Mohawk are with the Nkuhumas, they will all mix. You will find that they will spend time with the Talamatis too. They mated with them all. That was a big yawn. My goodness, they're all going to start yawning. So yes, great question, but it's the sort of Pride that falls under the dominant coalition, the Avokas, and all three of them. But I'm not sure if Darkmane's here. He very, very well could be. We just can't see him. So I'm going to sit here with my Talamati Pride, and we're going to send you across to Phinda with their spotted cat.
Welcome back, everybody, to one very fast asleep female leopard. She literally hasn't moved since you last were with us, but she looks quite content up on her little nest perched where she is. So well camouflaged, even for something that's, you know, completely different color and contrast to the greenery that she's in. Blends in super well. Those legs, or the white of her legs, blend into the branches, and then that coat of her, the dark top of those spots, also really, really well camouflaged up there. I think I'm really lucky to have seen her. She was spotted out in the open initially, and then walked up there. Maybe she saw something down below of interest that she attempted to hunt. If she was unsuccessful, then straight back up to a cool spot like that, just to enjoy the evening as that sun dips down below the horizon back to our west, just off to the right hand side where she is now. But I can only imagine just catching up on some sleep that she might have missed out on, maybe on an opportunity that she had. But she won't be there all night. I'm sure she'll eventually get up, jump down, and then carry on hunting if that was an unsuccessful attempt earlier on when she was in the open. You can see those ears also just tuned in. Might just be able to see the white tips behind the ears slightly, but obscured because she's facing us and the ears are away from us. But her eyes now also eyes wide shut. But just draped over that tree that she's in, like I was saying just now, very flimsy branches those. So I just caught the back end of that question from Sean. If FC you wouldn't mind repeating that for me, please. Sean, you're asking if all leopards hunt alone. For the most part, yes. Leopards are completely solitary unless there's a male and female together or a mom with her cubs, but they will typically hunt by themselves. When they do have cubs, if I don't think this female has cubs just yet, but if they do, for the first couple of months, they'll be tucked away, hidden in a den, and she'll go off and hunt and then come back and let them suckle. And then when they're old enough to follow, she might catch something, come back to the youngster and call them out to that. But same with males. They're not unlike lions who might work in tandem to chase things towards one another and flush things into to the rest of the pride. Leopards completely solitary and rely on that ambush skill of theirs. And you can see just how thick the vegetation that she's in is, because that's what leopard love. I mean, they are all about a stalk and an ambush, and they'll try and creep up as close to their prey as possible before they launch their attack. So yes, Sean, they will hunt by themselves. Such a pleasant evening now that sun has disappeared. It's starting to cool off significantly, so I wouldn't be surprised if sometime soon she wakes up and then jumps down, and that could happen at the drop of a hat if she sees something of interest, or it could be a little bit more lethargic, that wake up, a little bit of a stretch maybe up where she is before she hops down. And super relaxed. I don't think this leopard even acknowledged us as we drove in here earlier on. Paladin, you ask a very interesting question. You're asking if leopards sleep on trees mostly rather than on the ground. Here on Phinda, we don't have the biggest population of hyena, who in places like Juma or Ngala, with some of the other guides, they've got those really big populations of hyena, and hyena that will actually follow leopard because they know inevitably they will catch something and there's a meal on its way. There they'll hoist things in trees and often sleep up in trees when they won't be bothered, and it's also to get away from those flies that can be quite persistent and irritating. Here in Phinda, because we don't have the biggest population of hyenas, we often find them to rest on the ground, and even when it comes to them hoisting kills, they often don't. They'll just dash it in a thicker area where it will remain out of sight for birds of prey and vultures, and they can then go feed on that for a while. Like I say that speaking here, and this one is perched up in the tree, but often they do just sleep on the ground. We're going to stick around with this leopard to see if it does eventually move, but we're going to head off to Lauren, who's managed to find some lions.
Someone who's not fallen asleep is this lioness. She's wandering into the drainage just behind the dam wall on a bit of a mission. Now we can drive up on the dam wall and look down, but no other member of the parade is following. They're watching, but not following. I think we'll stay with these members and see if they decide to follow. It's just so lovely to have them here. And right on cue, once one starts to get mobile, I don't imagine it's going to be long that we have to wait for the rest. Really, it's contagious, it's cohesive behaviour. They all follow. Just takes that one to make the decision, one to move. It's like a knock-on effect. Mana, you love the markings above their eyes, aren't they stunning? They're almost like little semicolon or commas. Unique little eyebrows are stunning. Gives them quite the expression, doesn't it? Lions are gorgeous. Really beautiful animals. Powerful animals. And we discussed it last night when we were with the Talamatis, but their social dynamics are incredible. The pride is so important to them. It's not the same as the wild dog pack. That's more borderline sort of altruism, like we were talking about earlier, but still, lions are the only social big cat in the bushveld. Cheetah, not so much. Yes, the males can form coalitions and the mothers will be found with cubs, but not like this. Leopards, solitary. Really, lions are the only one with this incredible sort of cooperative little unit. And they're able to kill bigger animals, kill bigger species of prey, improving the chances of success, protecting their young. Monique, normally when it comes to naming animals out here, it's a stakeholders' decision. So it's a collective effort from various different stakeholders in the area. And it's normally from the property that they were found on. So with the Pride of Lions, I mean, they would have had their name a very, very long time ago. And obviously the pride continues with successive generations. But with leopards, for example, like Tandy's son, he will normally get named, I know they're discussing it now, around the year mark is generally sort of the age that you would name a leopard cub. And he was born on Juma. So Juma guides and the people from Juma will have a say in that. And of course the other surrounding properties like Torchwood and Buffelshoek. And they'll discuss different names and the meaning behind different names. And they'll come to an agreement. Sometimes it's the guide that finds the cub. Like Cara, Ryan, a guide named Ryan, named Cara. He found her, Shadula's daughter, so he got the opportunity to name her and he chose Cara. So it really, really depends, but it's normally a sort of collective effort and local names, Shangaan names that do have meaning for the personality or after the area that they were born, like the tortoise pan male or... Trying to think of another example. I can't off the top of my head, but it's something that everyone can agree on. I'm not entirely sure people are going to like it if we call this sub-adult John. I don't think he would like to be called John. But luckily we've got the infrared. Marcel came to the rescue, so it means we can spend the rest of the drive with the Talamati Pride.
Join our Explorers program so we can keep on sharing nature with the world. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic WildEarth expeditions, have access to an animal identification app, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn connects a global population with nature.
My name is James Hendry, and I work here at Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi sands on the western fringes of the greater Kruger National Park. My favorite part of getting questions from viewers is that we get to have long and varied discussions about all sorts of different aspects of nature. Because our audience comes from all over the world, it's very special to have different perspectives from everywhere. If you want to submit a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to the Live Safari page and submit your question beneath the live feed.
Welcome to my car. This is Wendy, and she's my favorite. She would love to have your name engraved on her so you can be with her every single time she goes on a safari here in Juma. If you become a WildEarth explorer, you will have the opportunity to buy an engraved tag which we will attach to her. We will make sure to send you a digital picture to show you exactly where you are sitting on her. You will have front row seat in every single sighting.
What makes andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve so special is our massive array of habitats. And with that comes, of course, a beautiful diversity of landscapes, but also an incredible biodiversity in terms of plants, bird life and animal life, as well as, of course, our conservation success stories with cheetah, with rhinos, now with pangolins too.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Welcome back everybody to andBeyond Phinda. where the leopard now, I'm sure most of you can actually relate to this, where you start nodding off and you almost give yourself a fright to wake up again. That's exactly what this leopard did. Her head rolled off where it was on that comfy perch and almost looked like her neck was about to give way. And she jolted back to life, had a bit of a reshuffle, and has now found another comfy spot up at the top of that tree there. Every time you think they're going to move, they just reposition themselves into a more comfy spot. And it's quite a bit darker now that that sun has disappeared. We've got that last little bit of light still lingering about. And it is significantly cooler as well compared to when we first left earlier on this afternoon. And I'd be very interested to see if this leopard does move in the time that we sit here with her. Because she, like I said, looks really content where she is, unless there's another bit of a fumble around those branches to get her up. I don't think she's going to go anywhere for now. But we're actually super lucky where she is, because if she were to be lying on the ground there, I don't think we'd be able to get a view of her. Moment you're asking her if leopards growl. Absolutely yes. Their typical call, or what you might hear from them, is called a rasp, almost like a sawing sound, which they do to let everyone know that this is their territory and they are here, or to attract a mate. But they'll also hiss. If there's something maybe like a hyena, they'll hiss. And I have also been around a leopard that was not so comfortable around the car, and it charged the vehicle, slapping the ground with its paws, and came relatively close. And it was maybe not so much a growl, but a very deep guttural sound that came from that particular leopard, and quite a humbling experience, because I'm not sure if you've noticed with us, but we don't have doors on our vehicles, and it just happened to be on my side of the car, which was rather terrifying. But luckily it stopped, and then eventually just left us in peace. And maybe one not as comfortable with the vehicles around it as this one is. Maybe it had youngsters that we were unaware of at the time and just reacting to that. But they do most certainly produce a growl, or the equivalent of a growl. If you look at her head is draped to the right-hand side over her legs. Her legs are both splayed to the left, and her head down now to the right. And now you can actually see the white tips behind her right ear. Doesn't, for me personally, doesn't look like a very comfortable position, that, as I look through the binoculars. But from up above, she would provide for some very interesting drone footage, this. But also maybe not too fond of that sound. At least of a drone, but to get an aerial perspective of this would be quite something. It genuinely does look like it's nestled in a nest. There's a little bit of movement. Do you ask if leopards ever fall from trees and hurt themselves? They are extremely agile and nimble cats. There are a couple of videos that have done the rounds on the internet of them chasing monkeys up trees and down trees and leaping to catch them and then falling to the ground. Trees, like the sausage trees, have flowers that animals go and eat the flowers of. if they are up there and a herd of impala are beneath them, they'll jump down and grab on. So, I mean, I've never seen or heard of a leopard injuring itself, falling down from a tree. Maybe if it lands on something uncomfortable like a rock or a thorn that gets in its paw. But usually they sort of cushion the impact as they drop down. And some of the trees that you see them climb really are frighteningly tall. The stem at least like 2-3 meters high, and they'll claw their way almost halfway down and then leap down from there, and they do that with absolute ease. So more often than not, they will not injure themselves if they do, but they, for the most part, have full control of where they are. Even her nestled up in that tree where she is, very flimsy looking branches, and every time she moves, the branches do too. And yeah, no sort of real signs of panic from her at all, really. Just listening to the bird calls around us, there have been a couple of black-bellied buzzards that have been calling now before darkness sets in completely and everyone hunkers down for the night. I'd be interested to see if this leopard does eventually climb down. I'm going to stick around here and see if she does, but we're going to head off to Ngala, who have managed to find a bird of prey. So, this is a scene that we've been seeing quite a bit today, where we've been finding large birds of prey like this on the ground, feeding off the termites, which you can see just up ahead of that eagle. There's some termites or alates flying out of a little hole in the ground. You can see the bird's crop is quite full. And that's because it's been capitalizing on this as much as possible. You can see there's a lot of different areas where they're coming from. And this bird's literally got so much to choose from. Just up above this eagle, there's also some vultures. One on the left is a juvenile, and then an adult on the right hand side, or an older juvenile. And I wonder why these vultures would be here. Maybe it is also because of the termites, or maybe it's just because this area is quite close to the riverbed. I know that not far from here, the Pride of Lions made a kill 2 days ago. It might be that they were just basking in the late afternoon sun to burn off some parasites. You can see the younger one with the white down feathers on the neck is looking around, and the direction that he's looking in has got very, very large clearings. It's also quite humid at the moment. Oh, there we go. One of the other ones going, oh. If you have a look at that, you can see it takes quite a while, and a little bit of an awkward landing, and it's interesting to see such a big bird land, even though that's quite a sturdy dead tree. You can see the weight of the bird, the
branches at the top was swaying, moving around. Sinek, that's a very good question. I actually don't recall any instance where I've seen tawny eagle and vultures fight with each other. But I can imagine that it would happen, especially around a carcass. If it's a small carcass somewhere on the ground, this time of the year we often find, well, actually up until the beginning of January more, you'd find that there's often stillborn wildebeest or impala lambs and calves around. And then you'll often notice a small group of vultures sitting on the ground with a tawny eagle feeding off the carcass. On occasions that you do get to see them together. But I've never seen the actual face-off. You can see eagle still busy feeding, picking off termites off the ground. It has to pen down quite low, especially with a crop that full. It's almost as if it's in the way. And we can hear a lion call. Which obviously has no effect on this bird whatsoever. But I can see some of the other general game in the area have just started making their way out. Mindy, how does a bird's crop work? So, before the eagle swallows everything and goes down to the further digestion process, it usually stores the food in there for a while. And then from there, the food will move down into the rest of the stomach to digest and make its way out of the bird eventually. It's kind of like a storage space in a way. You can see it also, it needs to eat quickly. And it's got quite a small stomach, so it's a lot of effort for this bird to run around like this and pick up as much as possible. The termites are really, really high in protein. And it only happens a couple of days after heavy rains that we get the flying termites come out, and that's when it's the time to use it to its full extent, to take some of the termites and eat as much as possible. Eagles like the lesser spotted eagle, most of their diet is actually made up, this time of the year, is actually made up out of termites in this area. We've only seen them in the rain season in this particular area. You can see it's almost like it's got too many options to choose from. But it's odd to see an eagle walk on the ground like this. You don't often expect it. You usually expect it to see it sitting up in a tree or in the lower branches of a tree in the heat of the day. think while we leave this eagle to feed off the termites, we might go try and look for that lion. In the meantime, we'll send you over to Andrew with his elephant herd.
Alright, so we now here with the elephant. Ngana have to leave him due to the lot of vehicles coming to that area, and then he actually moved south, probably back into Aratuza, where the boundary with Simambila there. So we're going to keep listening to radio if there's a chance that he comes back across to us. Now we've got a beautiful breeding herd of elephants to spend time with. And in fact, we were actually behind the dog's tracks that I also came in, but you know, they just bump on the elephants here while we were on the look for them. They finally also come back to the east from Aratuza as well. But the other guys are checking the few roads back there, the quarantine, where they're more likely to come out. George, so you're asking why the elephants have big tusks, and the females, they're more likely to have tusks also, but then are very thin compared to males, where those males, there's the one, they grow enormous size of tusks in size, and thick tusk as well compared to the female. So now, for example, what we're looking at here, we're looking at the young female. So if it was a young male, the tusk would be already thick enough. Male always build with such much bigger body size, bigger heads, a round head as well. So females kind of a square head, small in size. So I'm going to carry on and search here, and I'm going to be sending you across to Lauren with a pride of line.
Talamatis are up, awake. We're in infrared now, thank goodness, and they're looking at impala. Impala are right behind us. I don't hear them snorting, which means they may not have seen the lions. I don't hear any sort of commotion coming from behind us, and I don't think the Talamatis that we know of hunted anything last night, which means they could be hungry. If they do sort of go off into the thicket, we've actually been given permission to off-road in this area because we're high up. This is a high part of the Katina, and we're not down in a drainage line or a seep line. So if they do sort of hunt across quarantine, we can follow. They're definitely interested. Everybody's up. They're walking with purpose. And it's sort of sunset time. We've lost too much ambient light to use our normal camera without infrared and without artificial light, which could mean crepuscular can be very difficult for diurnal animals. It can be that time of day where the eyes are just not adjusted, and maybe the impala don't see them. The sub-adult male always just sits down. Yes, there's nothing quite like an active lion sighting. Sleepy lions are gorgeous, but you know, it makes you feel sleepy when you're watching lions sleep. I don't know what they're going to do here, but it's very tense. They're definitely interested in something, and there are impala behind us. There was zebra in quarantine this morning, and this afternoon we saw them. I don't know where they are now, though. They're going right past the Moolman's house. The Moolmans are the landowners here, and that's what that fence is in the background. Which means they're about 300 meters away from our camp. If that. You see, their eyes are glowing. We're not shining any lights. There's no spotlights or torches or anything here. It's just glinting with the infrared. And this is exactly why they are nocturnal. It's cooler, it's easier. They're not going to spend as much energy as they would if it was the mid-hot day sun. It's cool. Even I feel relaxed now, can breathe. And they're relying on this cover of darkness. Okay, it's not completely dark yet. The sun's not all the way down. But, I mean, my naked eye is struggling. Humans, we don't have any specialized adaptations for crepuscular timings of day. It's our weakest time. We are diurnal. And they can just slowly move through the long grass, and prey might not see them coming. You see, they blend in. You've lost some of them already. You can just see their eye shine. But it has to be coordinated. They've got to get this right. I just wonder if the zebra are still in the same position. It's quite common that zebra don't move too far. Warren, that's a tricky question because, I mean, the ratio is skewed. You've got 5 adult females and 6 sub-adult females and only 3 sub-adult males. So yes, the females do most of the hunting, but I would imagine the sub-adults are also active, the males, in the hunting as well. But of course, the 5 adult females, they are the ones with expertise. They are the ones that really... Is that one here, Simon? They're getting closer. Okay, I'm going to reposition because these two are after something. Are you ready? I just want to get round or we're going to miss completely what they're after. But yes, there's more females, so generally they do. But the sub-adults, both males and females, will be hunting at this age. They range in age between 1.5 years and 2 years. Okay, this just gives us a little bit of a better view to see what they could possibly be looking at, but I don't see anything. Simon's going to scan with the camera. Okay, so hopefully something happens, but we're going to stay very close to the Talamatis and see if they get lucky.
Great, so we're still here with this elephants. And what now they're doing, actually they're feeding peacefully. They relax and they don't seem to be bothered by anything. When now the light, it's getting less, we're using IR. That won't affect them at all. So they patched in this very beautiful open area here. But it's all about special grasses diet that they need. And they've probably been here for a while. There's been a lot of tracks. Cross over the road, in and out. So it's really cool though. It's one of these evenings sometimes visitors such as hyena arrive into this place where these elephants are right now. And the elephants haven't yet know that there's somebody has coming into this area. No chance for hyena to hunt an elephant. But, you know, this hyena, they're also on their own hunt. That's why they're getting close around, sniffing around, hoping to smell anything that died.
We just repositioned because the lions are moving. It's impala, male impala. They're moving closer and closer, but they've not closed the distance yet. The distance is still far too great. They need to close it. I don't think the impala know they're there. But in order to launch an ambush attack, they've got to be closer. This is it's been a long time since I've seen a hunt on quarantine. See, this one's moving really slowly ahead, carefully. Can you still see the impala, Simon? It's way off in the distance now, they've moved. It's snowing, everyone. Imagine, it's only little insects. Jacob, other lions. I don't think any predator out here. I'm talking about the Lowveld would challenge lions other than other lions. Prides will fight, coalitions will fight. The males can be very aggressive with one another, especially if there's a takeover. But no other predator would challenge lions, except other lions. The biggest threat to any species, really, is a member of your own species. The biggest threat to a male leopard really is another male leopard. The biggest threat to a female leopard is a male leopard. The biggest threat to a hyena is another hyena. Of course, there are other threats, naturally, but the biggest threat is a member of your own species. the impala have gone too far ahead, but they're slowly moving west along this fence line. This is perfect hunting conditions for lions. Grass is long enough, but not too long. It's also open. Open, but plenty of area for coverage. They're heading straight for our camp. They're obviously not going to our camp, but they're heading in that direction. But it's still early. They can walk all night. So it may be a case of they just keep walking until they find what they want. Quickly over to Phinda.
Welcome back, everybody. This leopard has just gotten up and started here in front of us and is having a lap of water. Have a look at that. Have a look at that reflection in the water. Have a look at those eyes. Really not something that we get to see often at all here on Phinda, or leopard for one, but to see one drinking. Can hear the frogs calling now as well. But I'm just going to sit back, relax, and let you enjoy the view. Have a look at how alert she is as well. Incredibly quiet as she goes about having a bit to drink this evening. I was from being sound asleep earlier to a couple of minutes later, wide awake and super alert. We saw a couple of Ngala disappearing into the vegetation beneath her and now behind her, but not interested in that at all. And now that it's starting to get dark, she is in her element and now just filling up the tanks. I'm sure she'll go about because of that little bit of rain, scent marking again, marking her territory. You can hear a hyena calling in the distance, which is also probably gotten her. I can only imagine how she's going to set off to look for a meal into the darkness. Deadly quiet. That's honestly why these cats are my favorite. They are incredible. And now with the naked eye, I can just barely see her as she disappears. And if she carries on walking towards the area that she is, we're going to struggle to keep up with her. So I think we'll just enjoy these last couple of moments that we have with her before she disappears. But what an amazing 5 minutes, couple of minutes. It felt like an eternity as she came down to have a drink of water. There she disappears into that thicker vegetation in the distance. And that for us here on Phinda, everybody, is super special, and I'm really glad we got to show you that as well this evening. We went on a bit of a whim. I was saying to Owen as she got down, I said, let's loop around to the other side of the watering hole to see if she doesn't come and have a bit of water and a drink, and she did exactly that right here behind us. And for quite some time you can hear these frogs, which are almost quite deafening. From this 14 mils odd of rain that we had the other day, the bush has come to life with that. And amazing. Let's see what else we can find this evening as we set off under the cover of darkness. Andrew to see what he's got.
So I have left the elephant. Now I'm checking just for the tracks with a spotlight in case we see tracks of these dogs running around here. But the guys that were checking also on the southern side of here, there is nothing. They say there's a lot of impalas on the far side in the open area. But you know, because of the maybe lions in quarantine Juma area, it could be that maybe they can be maybe disturbed, maybe ran different directions. If it's that they, you know, if they ever smell the lions, definitely they can switch, you know, position and head in a different direction for their own safety. But if they didn't pick anything, they're still making their way to the east. They'll probably happens, maybe they will be around quarantine.
For the month of January 2021, we are offering a chance to win a unique WildEarth expedition to the magnificent Tswalu Kalahari. From the ancient quartized Koranenberg Mountains to the southern Kalahari's red sand dunes, Tswalu offers what travelers crave most: space and time. The winner will explore this landscape in a vehicle, on foot, or on horseback, with a chance to go behind the scenes with WildEarth and of course meet the meerkats. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend at the luxury Motse Lodge, including flights from either Johannesburg or Cape Town. Open to all WildEarth explorers who have signed up before the end of January 2021. Terms and conditions apply.
Oh, it's going to be in trouble now. Oh, this is unbelievable stuff. Here comes a hippo in too. Go, Impala. There's a hippo coming in. I can't believe what we're seeing here. This is what we normally see in East Africa. It's all over. Hippo leaping at the crocodile now. Everything's gone underwater.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Hi, I'm Kyle, and I come to you live every day here from Tswalu Kalahari in South Africa. My favorite bird has to be the social weaver. The enormous nest that they create, their survival tactics to inhabit these harsh and unforgiving environments, and as well as their complex social arrangements, is truly remarkable. And the interconnectedness with the ecosystem shows us that we are too.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
So the entire parade has split up, which makes it a little bit difficult now. There's lots of vehicles wanting to see them, but just as we were pulling out of the sighting, we actually came across this lioness. They're going to hunt, whether it's on quarantine or whether it's a little bit to the west. They're heading in a westerly direction. I don't know, tomorrow will tell. But they're hungry. They're together and they're active. She's laid down low, but she's alert. She's not sleeping here. She's just keeping her body down to the ground. Now, of course, I, as a useless human being, cannot see anything. But generally, quarantine holds impala, zebra, and wildebeest. So if the Talamatis play their cards right, they could definitely get a free meal tonight. That'd be so wonderful for the morning. But again, if it's an impala, there's impala. That's what she's looking at. Oh my goodness, these impala are close. Oh, please don't spotlight them. Rule number 1 is generally do not spotlight in a hunt. I apologize about that. These males have no idea. These rams do not know there's a lioness watching them. They're grooming, they're just relaxing on quarantine. Okay, I have no idea what is going to go down tonight, but I have a funny feeling they're going to make a successful hunt. She's up. She's stalking. She's going for it. She's going for it. She's getting closer. She's getting behind this cluster leaf. So, everyone, thank you for jumping on board. I, of course, will update you tomorrow. Good night.